Wake up, God damn it. It's time for MARKETcast. Morning, P. How's your week?
It went really well. It was actually interesting. More leaning, I was leaning bearish, except for oil. I was bullish on that, and that hit pretty well. And then what I was bearish on did well, which was end phase mostly, and then some Tesla like early in the week. But I saw with Netflix earnings, I thought I'm not even going to try to short this today. I'm just going to wait for a pullback and see what takes off. And then Friday happened. Went light, but hit large on a couple of like QQQ calls and stuff like that. But mostly just sort of studied the flow. I'm kind of interested in how everything's going to be positioned in this coming week. But really positive signs overall. If you like to go bullish, which I tend to like to do, it's just easier for shares. But yeah, a lot of good signs this week
Yeah,
in crypto.
we did good on the beginning of the week, but pretty much struck out Wednesday, and that's not a normal thing for me. And then we had some personal things around the house. The wife got sick, and kind of got to step back a little bit towards the end of the week. And after you take one on the chin, you usually are bearish, right? Like it usually just
Yeah,
in your head, like, well, the market's going down because I'm wrong. And man, stuff held up really well that I was watching from a distance. Like, I would expect some things to fall, um, especially in the crappy penny land, and a lot of things are holding up, which is really, really good to see, in my opinion. Um,
yeah. Well,
um,
I mentioned that like so I think snow was the example I used where I was like it had a couple 3% down days, and I was like, well, look at where it's coming from. I honestly didn't expect it to just rip right back up like that though. And
yeah,
then like the crypto pullback, I was like, okay, these are gonna pull back and calm down for a bit. I expected to just see some rejections at 50 on coin like usual, but it just ripped right through that. So yeah, I think you either have to step back or just be really nimble and willing to change your view based on what you're seeing. So that was a good example of that.
yeah. You kind of, I mean, and in retrospect, I say it all the time. It's kind of one of my statements in here. Like I can tell you what happened after it happened. That's real easy, right? It's predicting
Yeah,
it. That
yeah,
that's the hard part. But I mean, we had 2 solid weeks, and you have to expect pullback. And we really, I mean, Coin's a good example. Coin, like if you look at it on the weekly, it didn't do crap. But
yeah,
it was very volatile during the week, and that's if you're on the wrong side of that, or you're biased, or you're playing it a certain way, you can get caught in that wash. And really, you just needed to be patient. And I'm speaking to myself. I mean, I'm looking in the mirror right now. But
yeah. And coin's a great one to talk about. I know we don't usually talk specific tickers here, but the flow was clear as day to 25 on it for about a month,
yeah,
but it just
yeah,
could not. It kept pulling back up to 35, and so if you had been in, like, you could have done a put swing at 25p back, down from some of those, from $10 higher or whatever. But if you're just stubborn and you stick with that, that chance might be gone now. We might not pull back that far.
So
You just don't
so
know.
not to cut you there, but it's the exact same
Yeah,
thing on the share side. I mean, I said to you, it's documented well. Book value. That's it.
right.
And that was like right at 20. It was like 29.50 or $30, right? Me
Yeah.
being greedy and waiting, I didn't get into coin. Coin went to 31 and change. I know that because I missed it. I
Hmm.
don't even have to look at the chart because I missed it because I was waiting for the 28s, right? But
Yeah.
that area was perfect. But if you don't switch your thesis, or if you stay in your bias too long, you miss trades.
Yeah.
And coin, that's a
No, that's
great
true.
that's a
That's
great
true.
example for me. I wouldn't buy it at 32. And why not? I mean, I should have scaled in a little bit, right? Like, like I always
Right.
say,
Right.
grab your 20 or your 15% or something like that, and get a starter, because then you will buy at 35, right? But now you're just chasing, it feels like. And now I have coin in my notes this week.
Yeah, right. And I think a lot of and we'll go right into crypto because it's one of our
Perfect.
topics, obviously. But yeah, I think most Bitcoin bears were waiting on some big collapse from Binance. Probably because the other ones we've talked before about how Genesis doing bankruptcy and like stuff like that isn't really gonna do much. Coin
Yeah, a
for all
big guy,
their
sure.
yeah, Coin for all their issues is actually pretty forthcoming and well run, and they're obviously they have a lot more oversight being a publicly traded stock and all that. So it was all about Binance, and the thing about Binance is they're probably up to a lot of shady shit, but they're smarter about it and hide it better than FTX. And in fact, they caused that. They went ahead and pulled the rug on FTX. Like they sort of outsmarted them, to begin with. So you might be waiting a while if you're looking for some big Binance thing to just send crypto to 12K. I mean that 15, 17 might be all we get for could be months. So I don't think you don't just stay in this bearish mindset the whole way up and call it a bull trap. That's a ridiculous way to trade. And even if you're not in it, you're just that arrogance doesn't get you anywhere.
No,
I
no.
mean, I'm wrong all the time.
I think I
So
was the
yeah.
biggest crypto bull in November, December. I mean, I was
Mhm.
calling it worthless, but I mean, as soon as there's a catalyst or a reason to trade, I mean, it starts trending up to like 19K, and you see $10 calls in a stock. That's enough for me. You have to get out of your bias, and I mean that's just one step. That's how hard trading is, because that's just one step. Then you got to actually take it to trades, um, which I did okay in crypto, I guess. Thank you, Pete.
Yeah.
But but you can't you gotta learn to turn it off and on, because it's the market's never right, and it's very reactionary. That you have to believe that. I mean, if you think the price is right on a stock, that's the worst thing. Or if you think a price should be on a stock,
Yeah.
that's the worst thing to have in your mind, because it's gonna overshoot and undershoot that constantly based on the news and conditions, and you have to understand that. You have to play it like the ocean. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, MSTR is a perfect example. Like I went ahead and got it. I was long, and I got out at 195 because I was like, yeah, there's this 200 low for February, March, but like I just can't. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it was right past some of those original targets, and then after that, it just kept going, and it's like 240 now. So I wish it's a bigger stock. I didn't have shares in it. I wish I did. Those would have done really well too. But that's one we've got a really good handle on, and I'd rather have a small win than have shorted it at 150 and be wrong. But yeah, I mean I didn't expect this to happen, but it's just about being ready for it once it does, and then just not assuming that okay, that's it. Oh, it ran. Okay, now I can go bearish because you're just going to keep. It's like catching a knife in reverse. I mean, you're just going to keep trying to call the top, and it can just keep going, especially something like crypto.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, it's a different angle, and I've been horrible at the latter angle. But if you're a day trader, right, like you're just looking for a zone. If you're a long-term investor, um, you need to do a little bit more than just look at a chart. and
Yeah.
and like I haven't really been looking at too much long-term stuff right now. Um, but we said, I think, early summer that stuff's gonna make it up off the bottom, and it's not gonna all be at the same time. And stuff like Netflix, Roblox, Coin. I mean, they're kind of proving that. Square and PayPal might be doing that right now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm saying way too many tickers. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it's you have to play the current in front. I guess we say what's in front of you, and crypto kind of proved that, because it was like 1 month on or 1 month off, and that 1 month it's back on. Um, and it's
Yeah.
fairly easy catalyst to trade, in my opinion. I mean, we're literally just trading the price of another commodity, if that's what you want to call it.
Well, and it gives you a 24-hour chart too. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not the most active thing in the world, but when there's it's a pretty good barometer over the weekend often about what you're going to see, what levels are holding. Um, you can be well prepared. So yeah, I treat it like oil futures or copper, anything else.
Yeah. No, and you just kind of got to get a feel for it. I mean, I know you've seen it because you tagged it, but I said to hold crypto over the weekend at 10 o'clock West Coast time Friday. Like you just kind of get a feel for the market after a while, especially with crypto. Like, yeah, I don't want to get too much into the specifics, but it's going to where I really believe it's going to where we said, um, in the short term,
Yeah, yeah,
like
I'm with you.
within
Yeah.
like the next 2 weeks. Um, awesome. What else you got? Or you want to do spy real
Um,
quick?
let's go do spy, and that'll set up some other
Okay,
stuff.
perfect.
Um, how'd our levels do last week?
So you were, we were like pretty much boxed in. We got to 387, I believe. I had 386. You had 384. So I mean, we're pretty much spot on there. And then our top end, I was 408. I was way over, and you were 402. And what did we get to?
Yeah.
Right at 400. Did we get to four? Yeah, 400. Right at 400. I think our levels were pretty good. Our top end just didn't have enough time to work itself out. Need another day. I think we get into the four. What do you feel about 400?
Um, yeah, I think it's kind of intraday. You see some you see some rejections on it. You got to be careful about buying calls up there on the short expiration stuff. But that level itself is not much of a hurdle flow wise. So I mean, they're pretty clearly going to take it through that, and then um, it'll be pretty definitive when they do. So yeah, I'm pretty optimistic we break through. It's just not. I don't know about the chart, but it's just not a huge resistance in options. They're
It's
not.
it's yeah, same
Like
thing.
there. Okay, so there was a put wall at um, 3,900 in SPX, which equates to a little bit different number in SPY. But that was like that support was very strong going into those Netflix earnings. There isn't a lid on the top end that looks like that right now. So I'm sure one will take shape after we break through 400, but for now, I think we can break through that pretty easily.
Yeah, there's not on the 10 year. There's nothing there. It's more like 412. That
Yeah,
would be
yeah,
that
that's
would be.
that's it. Yeah, it's so yeah, so like in the options, I see like 410, 415, like those calls get bearish, which is like the kind of the first sign of that'd be trouble up there.
Yeah, if I was the downside guy, that's where I would play it. This 400, it just kind of throttles there, but it doesn't want. We're at that point now where we don't want to give up 390 anymore, right? Like, so we're stuck
Right.
between those two conundrums. Um, it's going to be real hard for the next question here. Like, what numbers you got next week? Because we have a buttload of ER, which to me just means some are going to be good and bad. So we're going to go sideways. That's
Yeah.
that's how I see that. Like, it's too big, right? It's too big of a math
Right.
problem.
The Microsoft to me is the one that'll move it the most.
Sure,
I
sure.
like Tesla. I don't even know. Tesla usually actually has pretty good earnings, but it usually kills all the options on it, and you just see volatility after that. So I don't know that like Tesla will give a short term bump or spike to SPY, but if Microsoft earnings are good, if their guidance is good, I think they usually give guidance. Then we could get into that 408, 410 range. So I'm going to go ahead and say let's see. Yeah, I'm going to say four. I'm actually going to say 410 is going to be my top end on it.
Oh, all right.
And I want to talk about the Qs right after this.
Perfect.
Uh, there's something going there. But let me see my bottom end here. Um, yeah, I'm gonna say like 390. I'm just gonna say 390.
Ooh, 390. I like that.
Seeing some sold puts there.
On the I'm gonna Bob Barker you to the south. I'm gonna go 389 because I like that level too. But I'm I don't know. I think there's a little more downside. And then I'm on the top. I'm gonna I'm gonna stick with. Wait, what did I do last week? I was 408 last week. I'm gonna go 407
Yep.
this week. I just I'm just seeing this market is slow.
Yeah.
It takes an extra like 4 days for what you think is going to happen, and then some other news comes in, and you have to change that position anyway. That's just kind of where I see things right now. Like we don't get full moves before the next news cycle comes in. Um, so that's where I'm at. Just a lot of information this
Right.
week.
Yeah. And one thing that one interesting thing about this market too is you could look at the performance, and Nasdaq will be up 0.5%, but during the week it'll have like a couple heavy down days, and then
Yeah,
on a Friday it'll just rip up 3% like it did last week. So it's that's the kind of violent sideways action that I
yeah,
talk about.
yeah. No,
Which is great, which is great for day trading.
I think
It
we nailed that part too. We were just again a couple days
Yeah,
early because we talked about it going into the end of the week, and it didn't happen. We had 3 more days of good market until Monday, and then we got into the sideways action. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, it's just slow. And I say that because you could take your time a little bit more for things to set up, especially on the share side.
yeah, absolutely. And again, basic materials just um, is at a point where it's kind of hard to some of these, but you got there. And last week the opportunity was in a with AA dropping on earnings, but never really giving up the bullish setup in
Yeah,
options.
yeah,
They didn't really short that, so that was a dip. So aluminum was the one that you could catch. If steel has days in a row, that might be a chance to catch that as well. So I'm looking at.
you like my exit on AAP?
Yeah. Yes.
It felt too good up there. I
Hey,
appreciate you.
what do you think
What?
this idea with, so like copper is up, oil's going up.
Mm-hmm.
There's some signs of inflation behind um, that benefits particular sectors and stocks, but the idea that this kind of inflation could come back to bite us because the Fed could intervene, like is that a kind of macro thing that you think about when looking at charts and trading, or um, is that just like over analyzing?
No, the last part, no, I don't think it. I think it's something you definitely have to take into equation. Um, I think you have to overthink it, to be honest. Like, who has money to spend? What do they spend it on? Stuff like that. Um, will Target do better than Walmart because broke people don't have money and middle class people do? I really think you need to think about stuff like that in this
Yeah,
market. Um, but to your point on the oil and copper, I do watch the oil. I in general have a bias that if you're gonna buy oil, you buy it like gas, natural, not natural gas, like regular oil stocks. You buy them this time of year because people travel in the summer. Just in general,
yeah,
I've always thought that. Um, Gas is trending up. Just like I talked about before, the market doesn't get it right. The same thing's going to happen with commodities. They're going to go a little too low, probably a little too high. Will we get to $100 a barrel again? Probably not, but 90s are totally possible. Um,
oh yeah, yeah,
as that goes back to inflation, um, certain companies are going to handle it better. But I think the problem is going to be the entrenched inflation, not the actual inflation. Like trying to get it back to 2 or 3%. That's like one task. Trying to get the damage that's been done out of the market, um, that's a different ball game, and I think that that's the hurdle we haven't really crossed yet, which will keep commodities up. That was the point of that. Like
Yes.
that's going to keep commodities up. If you're paying more for this, for eggs, and I don't know what else is not coming back. Chicken wings. I'm still paying $9 for my chicken wings. They used to be 6. It's never going back, right? That's 50% increase. It's never going back. But if we then again get
Yeah.
if we get a gas surcharge in 6 months, right? Gas is up 20%. Those chicken wings are going to go up again. That's the point. Yeah. So it's kind of like a stair stepper thing. I don't think we're done, and I think the entrenched inflation is going to be more of a problem than if they ever get their hands on it. When they figure that out, I think they'll do more damage.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at the oil stocks, and I'll just bring up one ticker here, like Exxon, they on the last pullback they couldn't even pull it under $100. So even as oil
Right.
dropped from over 100 to the 70s, the stocks did not simply follow
Yeah.
that oil chart. They're wanting to stay in these, and so there's that next leg up that's brewing in these oil stocks. And um, my whole approach to oil stocks is that I think you can day trade them every day for the most part, but you also want to have in your mind, where is it I'm going to start to accumulate shares at what as these pullbacks happen, like that's when I buy. I might not even buy every week. I might buy 4 or 5 shares or whatever, but that's how you get a good average, and you just run a huge uptrend up, like
You
like we did with Oxy or Dino or whatever. So
you have
so
to
that
be
that
you have to be a little picky too. Like you're buying high end. So I mean, I said it last week,
yeah.
and you referenced it during the week. I'm not buying Dino off the price. Well, I am because I have a line there, but Dino I'm buying because $80 went above, or oil went above $80. That's how you have to play it at
Yeah.
this point. You can't play it off the chart; they're overextended. But if we're gonna have a run in oil, that's the one I like, and I need oil to be at X price, not the stock.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't like Oxy in the 20s.
Yeah, yeah.
There,
So, but
you
you're
can just
playing your
load it up
catalyst. Your
yeah.
catalyst is that oil's going to make a run, right? I mean, that's the catalyst.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and you've nailed that for over a year. Like the ebbs and flows of it. Like, wait, we're going to cool off. Wait, we're going to heat back up. Wait, we're going to cool off. Um, so yeah, I see it, and that's the end of the equation. What I'm talking about with inflation. So oil's the easiest one. These guys are making money hand over fist, right? Because everybody uses it. We all got to fill up our
Yeah.
tanks. Um, so they're going to be a profitable sector. That's why we're attacking this sector. It's which ones handle the profit well. Like if you're profiting and you're just spending it all, or you're still losing money, you're probably not going to hold this weight. But if you're kicking it back to investors, raising your dividend, buying back stocks, that stock's probably going to continue on for a couple of years in this uptrend. So totally.
Yeah, and we've talked about it too, that the SPY bears never seem to really account for oil's role in SPY. So like that they're expecting SPY to go to just tank a lot more, but a lot of times during these, like when tech's pulling back, oil's just rip, and it balances things out. So I've never understood why. It's the whole reason that I traded QQQ instead, for over a year now, is it's just a clearer read. It's like that's all
Mm-hmm.
tech stuff for the most part. I mean,
Yeah.
Costco's in there and a couple other. Um, when you're trying to just trade the whole entire market, and you're expecting this dramatic move down, you got to actually look what's in it and see how those sectors are doing.
Yeah, yeah, no, you're the you're the key to that puzzle for me. I didn't look at sectors before you, and I strongly pay attention to them now. Um, Even if I did, I would just look for like I'd be late to the party, and I'd look for the lagger, right? Um, and I
Yeah, yeah.
don't really have to do that now. We're usually really early on these. Um, Perfect. You said QQQ. You want to spend a little bit there?
Oh yeah, yeah. So one of the reasons I bullish on SPY is actually um, related to tech and QQ, just kind of where it is on the chart and kind of historically. So this is one of the longer pullbacks in QQQ history, and so it's just sort of like um, stay down here longer. Like if you look at like the weekly RSI and all that stuff. So I started looking at the weekly more in conjunction with ops and flow and all of that. And so like the weekly RSI, and RSI is not the be all end all, but it's under 50. In the recent rallies, it has spiked over 50 the past two times that we had some decent rallies, and it's sitting right at 46. And I look at the flow on it compared to the price. It's 282 right now. There's some very clear out of the money calls over 300 in February and in March. So, it, and there's not a lot of really to the downside right now that's significantly out of the money. So I'm bullish on QQQ, and QQQ doesn't exist in a vacuum. So whereas the read on SPY is a little more cloudy to me, if QQ is clearly bullish, then that influences what how I look at SPY. So my there is not so much like buy calls on week, but if you are having a clear read on something, there's usually else that you can look at. So if Oxy's the read on Oxy is like kind of cloudy for me, I'll look at XLE, I'll look at Devon, these stocks that kind of run in pair, where it's just very rare that you get a day where one runs and the other doesn't. The other factor with QQQ is that the Dow DIA is to down in a flow right now. So that to me says that this rotation that we're seeing out of some of these Dow stocks that are kind of overextended, that money, the natural place for it to go is into tech on earnings hype. So that's a pretty big opportunity that in the hot list when I talk about some of those stocks.
Yeah, QQQ to me right now is it's about to enter this 50 touching the 200 on the weekly, and
Yeah,
I think that's going to be a catalyst to buy in general if you're just
that
buying
lines up.
QQ,
Yeah.
if you're just buying QQQ. The 282 is your volume profiles. The On the bigger picture, this chart is scary because it looks like there's nothing holding up. But previously, when you've talked, and I've seen this on a chart, um, somehow it magically holds up. So like that 250, 260 level, there really isn't a lot of support there historically, but it's holding up well, and I think that's your kind of your bottom right now without a major news event or something like that.
Is the reason for that because of how quick it flew through that zone during the bull market?
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
you would expect for it to have some sell off in there, but it really doesn't. It holds well.
Yeah, they hold it up with options. I mean that's sort of like that's where my confidence comes from in it. I've gotten a lot better at actually looking at the chart too.
Yes,
You
you
taught
have.
me a lot about that. So but yeah, I mean they can hold this up with options, pretty easily. And then of course Apple, Microsoft are such a big part of it that when Apple's holding up, and our line by the way was perfect on Apple. Like
Yes.
that was it
Yes.
barely. There's a couple wicks below it,
You know
but
why? You know
not
why?
much.
You know why it was?
Why that?
Because
Why that?
I compared it with the Tesla chart. I'm just
Yeah,
playing.
yeah.
ah. Um. So do you think what's the do you have like Do you have 300 reads like leaps on QQQ, or is it just not that kind of thing to be trading? Like they don't
Yeah,
do
no,
that.
I do. So no, they do that. They do, and um, you see it, and usually the whale site alerts it really late. But when you actually dig into the flow on it, you'll see that pop up. So like 616 300C, which is a ways out, but so that's like that contract was $700 a couple days ago. It's over 1,000, and so you see them loading into that, and the open interest on that is huge. But more importantly than that, the the volume on it has been steadily increasing. And then what I look for then is actually for them to go a little sooner with those. And I'm seeing some in March pop up and in April, et cetera, in like the 310, 320, et cetera. So yes, there's definitely a possibility there. It's very active in the dark pools, and the volume on it is so huge that it can be, kind of hard uh, to get a clear read on it. But the possibility is there for.
Yeah, if you're not the best TA trader out there, I would just, especially on the bigger, QQQ, SPY, SQQ, and then any like leveraged ETF, I would use the 200 and the 50 and just have your whatever you're using have the price of the 200 and the 50, like so it shows you what the price is. And if you see strikes that
Yeah.
line up with those, I would consider buying or following those ones because those guys don't lose money. If you got a big
Oh, right.
buyer,
Yeah, absolutely.
if you got a big buyer buying at the price of where the EMAs are at, usually there's something to that.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll say with scalping that and is the like pre-market's pretty active on it, and do not chase either direction. So
Yeah,
if it
yeah.
gaps up, don't buy calls on that. If it dropped on data or something, don't buy puts down there. You're better off to either go small on the inverse or just wait. Sometimes it gaps up, pulls back, and then just rips up. That's what it did Friday. So waiting, if you can just be patient for 15 minutes, you are going to get a better entry than if you just go right at the ding ding ding, launch your calls. So that patience pays too.
Exactly. Awesome, awesome. You got anything else, or are you ready to get to some real
Yeah,
work?
yeah, let's do it.
All right.